Performance review season is upon us. What development strategies did you have in place? Did you implement them? Are you able to monitor and measure their effectiveness? Welcome to Tuesday Talks at 3. This is a platform where I help you get unstuck and onto your true potential. So every week I bring in a guest and together we help each other in our daily journey as we go through the sphere of life. Well, today is no different. And today we seek to understand the importance of training and development in the effort of managing the HR performance. So I'm just going to check my live stream to see that we are indeed live. And if you are able to get me loud and clear, so I'm just going to check that. And I can confirm, yes, we have been live for the last 1 minute. So today we seek, like I said, to understand the importance of training and development in the effort of managing the HR performance. I mean, what is training and development? And my guest is Leah Nzioki. She's an HR practitioner. She's passionate about her transformational work environment, where employees not only focus on their performance, but also to develop their skills to becoming better employees. And of course, better employees, better people, better community, better world. This is what the passion of Leah is. So I'm going to try and bring Leah to the screen so that we can welcome her. As I remind you the questions, I thank you so much for joining us, those who are joining us right now. How we broke into it was with 3 questions, and would love for you to share your experiences on what development strategies did you have in place, did you implement them, and are you able to monitor and measure them? So I'm trying my best to get Leah onto the screen. And as I am doing that, let's just try this. And there she is. There is Leah. Karibu sana, Leah. It is so good to see you. We are here, we are live on our session, and we are happy that you are able to join us on this live broadcast on Facebook Live. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, Lucy. Good to see you. And yeah, we are set.
We are so set, and I've just checked my live feed, and I can see that we do have people who have joined us, and we've got one person who's our #1 fan, and she's always here. She's always attending our sessions, and her name is Kavi. Thank you so much, Kavi, for being here with us, and never ever passing a day without joining Tuesday Talks at 3. This has been a great month, Leah. We have been focusing on the main theme of managing the HR performance. And we've had your fellow peers in the human resource career world talking to us about different aspects of managing the HR performance. And the first one came in and we talked about the corporate culture. That was just amazing. We then talked about the exit and interview process. So coming in from the corporate culture and looking at the exit interview process, we were able to see how that ties in and the importance of the corporate culture. We then went on to employee well-being, especially during this time of mental wellness awareness. It was beautiful to go through that. Unfortunately, our guest on that day was unable to join us due to an emergency, but it all worked out well. She's fine. And today we have you. And you're going to take us through training and development. So why don't we start off first with the definition of training and development?
Thank you so much, Lucy, for having me. I've been looking forward to participating in the session and maybe enlightening some people who could be having some questions on training and development. And most of the people do not know where that there is a difference between the two, training and development. And that is what I am looking forward to break in this afternoon. And I'll start by talking about training. What is training? Training is just a very key function in HR that its function is just to equip the staff so that helps them to perform better, among other benefits. So for an organization to have more productivity, they can invest in training. So it is basically equipping the staff to help them or to give them the skills and the knowledge that they need to perform better. Now, what is development? And I'll say this: training, it cuts across the organization, both for the lower level and the top level management. But for development, when you talk about development, we are talking about the higher level of management, the top level management. And basically, we are saying that we are equipping these people with higher educational growth so that we equip them for, number one, succession planning. Number two, to better them or to help them become better managers. So that is the difference between the two. One focuses on, it cuts across the organization. The other one, it is more of succession planning of an organization.
Oh, I love that. You know, it's interesting the way you have described it, because it's very easy for us to just cross that very thin line of training and development. Someone may say to us that development is actually equipping staff to perform better, equipping them with skills. But I like the definition that you've given in succession planning. You've also given us the definition that it is for the higher cadre of staff, the higher cadre of staff. I mean, we're also giving opportunity to people to have growth in their career. So development is something very important. And in my own humble opinion, I find that a lot of training is done, Leah, but most of the time, very little of development is done. And I say this from my angle as a coach and as a mentor. How did I land in being a coach and a mentor? Because I was in the system. I was in the same world that you are in, and I love it to bits. Hospitality industry, it runs in my veins, and it will forever run in my veins. And in the positions that I held in management, I was coaching, not knowing that I was coaching. I was mentoring, not knowing that I was mentoring, because this was an aspect of development that I wish had been made crystal clear. There's an assumption that once you're in management, you understand the difference between training and development. So I'm so happy that you're here today. And if something that I did not know in the past and I came to know, if I'm able to share with the world, I love to do that. It fulfills me. So for those of us who are watching now, Karibu Sana Dudu, good to see you here. Welcome. Today we are talking about training and development, and we have our guest here, Leah Nzioki, and she is an HR practitioner in the hospitality industry. She has just defined for us training and development. Training and development. Today we're just seeking to understand the importance of this in managing the HR performance. So Leah, what are the stages of training and development? So I am assuming that I'm a very green person. I don't know that HR, there's an arm of training, there's an arm of development. What are those stages? How will I recognize them when I see them?
Before I go to the stages of training and development, let me say this. The first training that happens to any employee that is joining the organization is orientation. And the reason is why I'll say this is because you are integrating the employee to the culture of the organization. You are notifying the employee about the HR manual, the HR handbook, the mission, the vision, the core values of the organization. So that is the first training that each organization or each HR function should focus on. Integrating the employee into the organization through orientation. And that is why we should have a thorough orientation program for the joining employees so that they can always remember that the first training happened in HR department. Now we go to the first, to the stages of training and development.
Yes.
Before we go to the stages of training and development, how do you identify the training needs or the training subjects or topics? That is a good question. And I thank God that someone is asking themselves that question. Number one, through performance management. If you have a robust and sound performance management in HR, when you are doing your annual appraisals, through that, or through the feedback from the employee, both the employee and the HOD, you can identify the training topics that you're going to focus on. The other avenue of identifying and training topics is through the guest feedback. Like in hospitality industry, we will have the guests giving feedback through a feedback book. So as the HODs go through the feedback from the guests, they can pick the topics that they can focus on when they are training the employees. Number 3, repeated disciplinary cases. You know, if an employee has repeatedly done a certain disciplinary thing or has been involved in a disciplinary issue, and it has become a repeated thing across the organization, so that one forms a decision to train the employee on that area. Number 4 is a new product, like in I'm just guessing that we are not, I'm not only addressing the hospitality industry, but other industries. If there is a new product in the, that you want to introduce as an organization, then now that one also informs the training topic. Now we can go on and dissect the training stages or the stages that an organization it's supposed to undertake to ensure the effective and efficient training and development.
I like what you say. I love the way you're breaking it down. So from moving from a definition of training and development, we now want to, we've understood ways of identifying training. And in my introduction, where I talked about the performance review season is here. Our performance review, I know it from the hospitality industry, I don't know about the other industries, happens around this time. And this is when we begin to bring it together and we get response from the employees, response from the HODs, the heads of department. I love that you talk about that performance management there, because the theme for this month is about managing the HR performance. This is the task that you do. Guest feedback, very important. Repeated disciplinary cases, very important. That is now you, the organization, looking at ways to mitigate these disciplinary actions, knowing that perhaps somebody is doing it unbeknowingly to them, they're not informed. I love the fact that this is how we can identify training opportunities. And then a new product, I'm loving that. So we are dissecting now, Leah, we're dissecting. Yeah. Let us go ahead. I just want to recognize Paul Melgosa has joined us. Welcome, Paul. Today, the topic is about training and development as we bring the month of managing the HR performance, I beg your pardon, to an end. So welcome guys. Please, if you could share with us your experience, what development strategies have you had in place this year? Have you implemented them? And are you able to monitor and measure the effectiveness? Let us go ahead and dissect now, Leah.
Okay, the first stage, it's the training need analysis. And the training need analysis is that you have collected the training needs. Now you've come up with the topic. The training need analysis is supposed to answer the question of who will do the training, when will the training be done, why do we need to do this training, and how is the training supposed to be done? And before you answer this question, unless you answer this question, you cannot go to the next stage of training. So this is a very crucial stage in training and development that HR practitioners should focus on. The effective methods of how is we have two methods of training, and the first method is that on the job and off the job training. On the job training is when maybe the rotational jobs. Off the job training is maybe an organization will send you outside to go and do training in other organizations. So after now analyzing or coming up with the training need analysis, what is the next stage? The next stage is to identify, it is to identify how the training will be done. So it is now doing now the real training. Now you go into the now implementing the training itself, and this will answer the who will do the training, where will the training be done. So now we are doing the training. We have conducted the training right now. After conducting the training, what is the next thing? The next thing is, and that is the implementation now of the training need analysis. The next thing that you're supposed to do is you're supposed to monitor and evaluate. Monitoring and evaluation. You know, at this stage, most people do not focus on this stage. After we've done the training, we are done. We think that we have accomplished what, or the intention of the training and development program. No, there is the monitoring and evaluation stage, which is very important. And why do we do this? We want to measure whether the training was effective, whether the training was efficient. Did the training answer the questions of what are we looking at? And the other thing for doing monitoring and evaluation is the investor or the management would like to know, do I have a return on investment after, investing in this training? And how am I benefiting? Is there increased productivity? Are cases of indiscipline decreased and all that? Such like things they inform out there, the monitoring and evaluation, and now now the feedback, which is very important. After, because the monitoring and evaluation should be done in coordination between the HR department and the HOD who is supervising this staff that was trained. And now they are supposed to give feedback to the management that this training that happened was effective in this manner, and we can measure the results. So that is very important, measurable results, which we call the KPIs in HR. So I think I have summarized it in a way that the viewer can understand.
And in fact, you have. And I was going to ask you, when it comes to monitoring and evaluation, what kind of metrics? And you've actually talked about KPIs, because there are those who are watching who may not understand how do I monitor, how do I evaluate? But in answering KPIs, that is a very global. That is a global way to answer it, because of your key performance indicators, where you've already set them out even before we have started the training. So it is important. I love the steps, the way you're doing them. And if we are talking to the owner, they want to see return on investment, because of course, they have signed off on a line entry for training. Leah, this is a fact. As a trainer, I am a trainer, an online facilitator, and as a life coach, I'm a clarity coach. I find that my line entry in any kind of business is one of the first line entries that are struck out when the company is experiencing cash flow, or like this time of the pandemic. We are the lines in the budget that are struck off. Now, training, you would not bring an outsourced company to come and train. You start to do it in-house because we are saving on costs. These are the mitigations that are carried through. So having said that, it is important that an owner can see the return on investment on the amount of monies that they have spent on this training of the staff. They want to be able to see the effectiveness and the efficiency. But may I ask you a question, Leah? What about from the point of the employee? The employee now has been trained, because you talked about the HOD or the supervisor. They're able to monitor with the KPIs, and they can say whether this person has improved, whether there's improved productivity, whether there's reduced indiscipline cases. But what about for that employee who is being trained? What do they get out of it?
There are objectives that are set by the department heads. And objectives, I mean, they're in different levels. You can set individual objectives, you can set departmental objectives, and of course, there are organizational objectives. So the employee through the support of the HOD, and support, I mean, if they have any question, any concern about an area that they are not able to perform, or they need clarity on something, that is a support bit that comes in from the HOD. Then there is also now be provided with the right tools. You know, after training you, I'm not just letting you to go and perform. I am supposed to provide you with the right tools and equipment to help you perform. Right? So during the monitoring and evaluation period, there should be an engagement between the employee, where the employee gives feedback and the HOD gives feedback. And this one can be done through set clear objectives for the employee. So so a summary of it is that the employee is always supposed to give feedback to the HOD.
Very true. And also what I have heard, the employee then has an expectation of the HOD and the employer to provide the tools, because you could have been training me on a new product. Now I have all this knowledge, but if I have no way of applying it, then perhaps the training was just a box that we were ticking. So for you employees out there, there's your message then from our HR practitioner today. When you go through training, there's an expectation from you. There's a responsibility. She actually talked about training objectives. Before you go into a training, know what the objectives are. As you're going through the training, seek to see where the objectives become aligned with that training. And when you exit, ensure that you're walking away, yes, with this knowledge and this skill, but where are you applying it? Because when you go to work, you will be asked specific questions, and the HOD is going to say, but you were trained about this thing. If you did not understand at that time, perhaps you should have raised your hand or raised your voice. I'm loving this. Now, we've talked about training, and I know we shared the definition of development. Now, development is for a higher cadre of staff. We're looking at succession planning. So what are the stages then of development, if any, especially when it comes to succession planning? Is there something that you can leave us with at this point, Leah?
Yeah, before we go there, I would like also to add on something. During the implementation of the training, ensure as a trainer that you have training form, which you distribute to the employees. At the end of every training, the employees are supposed to give feedback. They are supposed to range you. Was the training effective according to them? Because it is a two-way. There is your input, there is the trainer's input, and there is the trainee's input. So that is very important. And it helps also the trainer to ensure that next time they're effective, and also to gauge the viewers from now the trainees. Yes, in the development, let me mention this. The difference between management and leadership, we'll look at that another day. But the need for development in an organization is to sharpen your skills, your management skills, your leadership skills. Now, there are stages to this. Approaches differs with different organizations. But from where I sit, you are supposed, and it comes especially to when you are answering the question of succession planning. Number one, you are supposed to identify in future what are the positions that we're looking forward to filling in. And this one can be attributed to maybe HOD is going for their retirement, you know. And also the HOD, you know, it's also required to go for their leave days. When they go for their leave days, have you equipped the lower level manager to be in charge and fully in charge and not disturb the HOD when they are on leave, you know? That is where now the development comes in, sharpening the skills, the management skills of the lower level managers, middle level managers, and senior level managers. Now, implementation of this or evaluation of this is seen when the HOD is away. Are we calling you as HOD every day and telling you that, you know, the rooms were not set? Are we calling you every day and telling you that, you know, we do not have the financial report for the month? You know, that is a need for developing the management staff so that they can take on the higher level position with ease.
Mm.
Yes.
I'm loving that. What comes to mind and what I remember very well, in my place of work, there was something that we called task force. And because I worked in international companies, the task force meant that you had to equip your direct report who was in management. And the only way that we could see how effective it was to take them to another country to work in one of those hotels. See, now they can't really call you like the way you're saying, the rooms were not done, the financial report, the market listing, all those things that we do in a hospitality. And my apologies to those who are not in the hospitality industry. Right now, we are very biased because Leah and I are both in hospitality. And therefore my example would be specifically hospitality. I love hospitality. I cannot say that enough. So it was task force. And this way, the individual before they went on the task force was like shadowing their boss, their HOD, their supervisor, shadowing. So as a supervisor, as an HOD, I would allow this person to do my tasks, and then we would come back and look at it. So that was around development. And I think you've explained it very well. It's about sharpening those skills. It's giving them the opportunity for career growth, and then taking them into an environment where now they have to put this skill to test. I'm loving this, Leah, and I really do hope we had time to talk about management and leadership, because there's a very big line there that draws them apart. But we will not get there for now. The one that comes to my mind right now is that we may have all these stages of training and development. However, for them to be effective, how do policies and procedures come into play? Because I know policies and procedures are a huge thing when we're in organizations. How do they come into play to ensure that whatever it is we are training and developing about becomes a reality to our bottom line? So how do policies and procedures come into play?
Let me say this. I have seen organizations that make policies just for the sake of maybe addressing an issue, a current issue that is pressing the management at that time. Policies and procedures of organization are supposed to be clear, and they are supposed to address a long-term need in an organization. Number three, they're supposed to be uniform. They're supposed to address equity in an organization such that it addresses the direct reports, mid-level management, and senior level management. So what is why do we need to have a sound training and development policies? I'll say this, back in 2014, that was the first time I say to myself, let me draft a training and development policy for where I was working for. And because I had developed many, I said, this one, I'll just do a research on it. I'll come up with one. And it was a very sound training and development policy, which was very effective. And by the end of the day, it was embraced by the board, and it was approved, and it was implemented. Let me say this, when you're developing any policy, and specifically training and development policy, a policy should not be a management document. Why do I say this? Most managers will just come up with the policy without involving the direct reports. And when I say the direct reports, I'm talking about the junior staff. These guys have diverse, very brilliant ideas. It is always good that when you are developing any policy, that you get their input, which you can collaborate with what you have, so that you come up with a sound policy. Why do you need to involve the junior staff in developing a training and development policy? You see, you're not the one who will implement this policy. It will be a collaboration of the managers and the junior staff. For these people to embrace the policy that you have developed, you have to involve them in the stages of even developing the policy. So the reason as to why I will have a robust training and development policy, I have one. I have developed one before. I have developed one right now for this organization, is so that there is equitable implementation of training and development across the organization. Yes.
It addresses the equity in the organization. Policies and procedures, very true what you're saying. I've had that experience. Again, it is ticking a box that we create policies for the sake of creating policies. I love the fact that you are recommending for it to be inclusive, all inclusive, meaning that we've got to have the direct reports contributing to these policies, because at the end of the day, it's not you as management who are going to actively do the operations. It's not you as management. And I like to draw this clear distinction. So, and please correct me where I'm going off, Leah. So you have our business plan. And our business plan is going to outline, as an organization, whether hospitality or any other industry, it's going to outline the reason that we exist as a company. It is going to tell us who our target audience are. It's going to tell us where we are situated, our pricing. It's going to tell us our financials. It's going to tell us our staffing. Basically, this is our Bible. This is the thing that we keep on going into. It's going to then tell us about training and development, because training and development needs to be part of our business plan. We need to embrace it from that spot. And stop me if I'm not on the right track. So the fact that you're saying inclusive policy makes a lot of sense, because during orientation, that member of staff is made to understand what we exist for as a company. And they have signed on that to work for that company. In the job description and the advertising, we talked about this in the interview session that we had, interview and exit session that we had with Angela Mwendarani. By the time we are putting ourselves there as an organization and looking for staff, we have told them who we are. They have gone online, they have searched for us, and they know who we are, and they've come and they've signed up. They've gone through an orientation as per how you've shared with us. And now we actually have the HR department including them in the policy. I am sold. I am definitely sold, because now I know for sure that my voice matters. My contribution matters. Because at the end of the day, management or the owners create this business plan, but they need to sell it to the managers who are going to manage the direct reports. And if the direct reports are part of it, then it works very well. And I'm seeing you nodding your head there, Leah, so I guess I'm on the right track.
Yes.
Itzai Mushambawi, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Welcome. We are talking today about training and development in organizations, as we are coming to the end of our series this month, which is about managing the HR performance. We started off by saying that performance review season is upon us. And what development strategies have you had in place? Did you implement them, and are you able to monitor and share? And therefore, we are asking you, our audience, to share with us your experience. Our guest today is Leah Nzioki, and she is an HR practitioner, and she's really dropping gems here. She started off by telling us we need to embrace training and development. She broke it down and she told us exactly how each person in that flow, in that funnel, is affected and what they bring to the table. She's now taking us through policies and procedures. This environment is very important, yeah? But then, Leah, how do we enforce the standards of procedure? And before I just go ahead, I can see a comment has just come through. Oh, it's good to see you, Nduku. You say, well said, Lucy. The business plan outlines the reason for the organization. It explains the reason for collecting all the resources to share this same space. Fantastic, yes. And Sheila, Nduku Sheila, once we bring everything together, we need to be aligned. And one of the things training and development needs to be is aligned to this business plan. So back to you, Leah. How do we enforce standards of procedure? Because you've talked about policies. So there's been an all-inclusive in policies. How then, from those policies, do we enforce procedures?
You can easily identify an organization that smoothly is enforcing their procedures through this. There is a shared value. There are shared values in that organization. You can easily identify with the core values of that organization. Number two, there is a clear statement on vision and mission, which states this is where we exist as an organization. We exist as an organization to ensure that this policy is put in place, implemented, and it is effective. You know, the mission of an organization is that this is where we are going as an organization. So those are some of the things that will ensure that we enforce the training and development procedures or policies in an organization. Number two, empowered management. You know, you need to empower your management to ensure that you not only have a robust training and development policy, but it is a policy that is working for the organization. Number two, embrace the feedback from the junior staff. It is very important. You know, most of organizations stops at the management level without necessarily thinking that the junior staff are also important and they are part of the organization, or their feedback should also be considered when you're enforcing the procedures and the policies of the organization. Yeah, I think for those are basically ways into which an organization can embrace procedures and policies in an organization.
Now, in not enforcing, because I know you've been talking about embracing, which is a good thing, and I do find that some organizations find it a challenge embracing and then implementing, because you could embrace, but when it comes to implementation, it just needs a totally different skill set to do that. How can we apply reward and discipline in enforcing standards of procedure? I can see Catherine Giroux has joined us. Karibu Sema. Asana Catherine, you say better late than never. Yes. Well, right now we are talking about training and development, so you've come in at the right time. And our guest, Leah, is taking us through policies and procedures. We see Elijah Mwaniki also has joined us. So reward and discipline and enforcing of standards of procedure, Leah, what are your thoughts?
Those are two different things, rewarding and discipline. And the discipline comes in, all this is supposed to happen after the performance appraisal. Now, the issues that have been picked during this session, are they discipline related or are they performance related? If they are discipline related, that now it's taken to now the disciplinary procedures, which is supposed to handle differently. If they are performance related, there's something we call performance improvement plan. Now, identify the areas that this employee is supposed to improve on. And list them down, discuss them with the HOD, and let the HOD together with the HR discuss these areas with the staff. Give these staff a timeline within which they are supposed to improve on these areas. And during this period, mostly 3 months is enough for enough room to give an employee to improve on the areas that have been identified. Now, at the point where you've discussed on the areas that are supposed to be improved on, you don't leave the employee there. Again, you are supposed to provide this employee with the support that they need as the HOD or as the HR. You're supposed also to ensure that you get feedback from this employee. Is there anything that you need in terms of tools and equipment to help you improve on these areas that you're supposed to improve on? Now, the expiry of the performance improvement period is over. What are you supposed to do as a HR? You remind the HOD that the period is over. You sit down again and you evaluate the same parameters that you have listed down for this employee. Evaluate them, get the feedback from the HOD because they were direct supervisor for this employee. Have they improved? And you know, some HODs, and that is where the HR is supposed to come in and bridge this gap. The HODs like maybe to pin the employee. So get to know a tangible reasons as to why this employee was not able to perform, not just the theoretical part of the HODs that this employee was not able to perform. Just dig deep as a HR and get to know why the employee was not able to improve on these parameters. After evaluation now, this is where now a decision is made. Are we parting ways because you're not able to perform? Or are we giving you more room? And if you have improved now, the HR will issue a letter highlighting on the parameters that were highlighted and commending the employee for improving on these parameters.
Yes.
So I hope I have answered your question.
You have, and I love the aspect of support. You know, I keep on writing notes here, Leah. When you talked about the performance improvement plan, in fact, number one, you split it into two. When I asked about reward and discipline, you said it could be discipline related or it could be performance related, and went ahead to break down the performance related into the performance improvement plan with a acceptable period of 3 months. Support is the one that you got me on. Today, there's a lot of emphasis on this buzzword, emotional intelligence. We're talking about the support of understanding each other so that we could have an environment where we're working better, where there's resolution of conflict, where there's understanding where this person is coming from. It's important here, Leah, because although you have a performance improvement plan, you may find that this member of staff, who was once a very high performing member of staff employee, suddenly has taken a dip. And even though you've taken them through this 3 months performance improvement plan, they're not performing. So I am just confirming and reinforcing what you said in the word support, how HR comes in. And for those of us listening here today, HR steps in with emotional intelligence, because they are equipped with understanding or knowing how to take the staff or the employee through a questioning technique. This person could be having an ailing person at home. We are in the pandemic right now. Death has come so close to us. Loss of property has come so close to us. Mental wellness is the buzzword of the day. And HR has the onus to be able to take a member of staff through a schedule of questioning to understand that perhaps it's a performance related issue, but something that we are saying could be discipline related. Leah, am I on the right track?
Yes, you are, Lucy. Then let me mention something. The IQ skill, every HR practitioner or professional should have the IQ skill. Why do I say that? This employee is in discipline case, but if you dig deep, you may find that there are some maybe emotional, spiritual, related issues that are affecting this employee. And that is why when I was mentioning about training, there is mentorship and mentorship, there is coaching, there is counseling, guidance and counseling, and this section should be very sound and robust in any organization. So you are in the right track. And the reason as to why this skill, the HR should have this skill, is so that they identify that does this employee need to be dismissed, because you can dismiss someone and tomorrow they've hung themselves. Or does this employee need to be taken through guidance and counseling? So as a HR, you are supposed to also, during the discussion process, you're supposed to identify this and not just dismiss this employee based on or the indiscipline cases that they've been involved on, or underperformance, especially most employees who are underperforming. If you question more, or if you dig deep, or if you engage this employee on a personal level, you will always get to know something about them. Maybe some emotional disturbance that they are going through. Maybe they have issues with their family. And as a HR, that is where now you're supposed to come in and explain to the HOD that I need to deal with this matter this way. This is the route that I am taking. I am taking the guidance and counseling route, or give me time to mentor this employee. Give me time to mentor this employee.
Yes. Thank you, Leah. So we are embracing the training and development. We're ensuring that we have clear policies and procedures, and we're ensuring an execution of this strategy, of this training and development. However, when just listening, what are the characteristics of an organization that embraces training and development, because we like to learn. So maybe there's somebody who's listening now who wants to go and look for, we call it best practices, and the best practices could be coming from looking at the characteristics of an organization that embraces training and development. Kavi says, it's important to dig deep with employees. Very true, Kavi, and I love that Leah has actually expounded on that. Thank you so much, guys. So characteristics of an organization that embraces training and development. Leah.
Let me start by saying, posing a question probably to you or maybe the viewers.
Yes.
Can you easily identify an organization that embraces training? Do we know this organization? We can easily list them actually. If you hear of, the giant organization like Safaricom, why would everybody would be associated with Safaricom? Because these are the people that you enter that organization, and the first thing that you realize is that there is a shared value,
Yes.
and this is standard. If you go to all the departments, you will find that there are values that are shared: integrity, passion, one team, and all that.
Yeah. In fact, Leah, if I can just interrupt, mine is customer service. Customer service, that's when I know it's a characteristic of an organization that embraces training and development. Customer service, there are certain things, I just wanted to jump in and say that. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead, Leah.
We don't call it customer service here. We call it guest experience, and this means that once these guests enter the hotel, there's experience or the service that they receive from our staff is the same service that they will receive throughout their stay at the hotel. So these guests will not only receive a customer service, but they will have a guest experience. A guest experience, they will go outside there and they will sell the hotel. And this one also results into repeated guests, repeated revenue,
customers,
revenue, all that. The other thing is a shared culture. I like talking about culture, and I know Charity should have done a good job in the corporate culture. And the reason is why I love a culture of...
It was actually Magdalene Malo.
Magdalene, yes, Magdalene.
She did a good job on corporate culture, yes.
Precisely. And the reason as to why I would talk about a shared culture is that when you enter into an organization, right from the gate, were you greeted? If you meet any employee, the housekeeping employees, the public area employees, how did they approach you? Did they greet you? Did they welcome you? If you go and meet a staff in the service department, did they greet you? If you meet accountants who are always very busy and serious people, we will find out one day why they are always serious.
Leah, you really want accountants to be smiling. Nothing against accountants, but those numbers they are looking at, they can't smile the way you are smiling. Sorry. Go ahead.
Sometimes I tell them to smile. It costs nothing to smile,
You're very right.
So I'm talking about a culture. It's very difficult to inculcate a culture in an organization. It takes actually an investment of time and resources of HR to inculcate a culture in an organization. Now, how does this happen? Have clear core values in every organization. Pin them in every notice board, HR notice board, in the departmental notice board. Ensure that these values are pinned everywhere in an organization. Now, it is one way of pinning them and ensuring that the employees are trained. Remember, I told you that the first training that happens to every employee is orientation. And you're orienting them. One of the things or one of the resort and key that you're looking at is to ensure that you are clear on the culture of the organization. Now, it is one thing to have a theory of this is the culture that we embrace here, and the employee going there and finding a different culture. So this one should be a continuous thing, and in any organization, always ensure in the staff meeting you remind the employees that these are our values, and the reason as why we have this value is we want to have a culture of integrity. We want to have a culture of one team. We have to be passionate about what we are doing. So I love talking about culture, and this is one of the major characteristics that you can identify with an organization that trains and develops their employees. I talked about empowered management. You know, it is one thing to have policies, and another thing of empowering the HODs to ensure that they inculcate this to their junior staff. So empowered management, you know, and any visiting person in any organization should always identify with this. You know, how the HOD in housekeeping is able to, you know, dissect anything that pertains to the organization is the same way a financial person should be able to do that. So you should always ensure that you have an empowered management. You know, I like saying this because some organizations really don't want to empower their management staff, and that is why the management staff are not able to make some key decisions or minor decisions. They always have to question or inquire before they make any decision. The other characteristic which is very important that you can identify is motivated staff. You know, and motivation is not monetary related. You can create a conducive working environment for these employees, an environment that embraces training and development, you know, and this one will also ensure that the employees are retained, you know, their attrition levels are low. So when you go to an organization, for example, where I am currently, you will hear employees that have worked there for 20 years, you know, for 15 years. And what you can relate with that is that the training and development policies and implementation of the same have ensured that the employees have decided to work for that organization for long. So one of the characteristics that you can identify is that the employees have been retained. They work for that organization for a long time. Yeah.
I'm loving that. I'm loving the fact that you're able to draw a correlation with the empowered management, because when you're calling somebody and they have to seek counsel, they have to seek permission to move on. As a client, you're already questioning, is that the manager I was talking to? Or was that just a regular member of staff? The core values also rings very true for me, because core values, and I love the way you use the one of integrity. It can be put up there on the wall. I remember where I used to work, and we had them on a little card that we carried with us all the time. We had little pockets where we carried access keys. And then we would have our core values and our mission statement and our vision statement there. So every time we need to remind ourselves, but we started doing it out of a need to meet a management or owner of the hotel in the corridors, and they ask you a question and you can answer it. However, I am very big in application. Was I able to apply what I was carrying in that little small thing in my day-to-day work? So implementation and execution is very important. How does that translate to so what does integrity, how does that translate? So I was in the sales department, Leah. So of course, for me, sales department means we were doing contracts. And when you go into contracting, you come into contact with things like corruption. So how are you going to show up as a person of integrity coming from this company? This is where there has to be a correlation for the salesperson to know, how do I show up as my company in that space? When we are talking about efficiency and it is a waitress in the restaurant, how then does she translate efficiency, which is one of the core values, to what she's doing every day. Whatever it is needs to be broken down for the member of staff. And I found there was a gap. And today, again, core values is another big buzzword. And I have noticed now on websites, when the core value is written, there's a small paragraph as to how we are going to show this behavior. And therefore, as a client, when I walk into your company, those are the things I'm looking for. For me, I call them customer service. You did say that it is guest experience. Very true. It is my experience. It is that experience that I have when I walk in and I experience the product. So am I able to see this shared value? Thank you so much, Leah. You've just shone so much light on this, and those characteristics, we need to look out for them. Unfortunately, time is up. We have finished our hour. If you could give us some 3 takeaways. I know you're smiling. This hour goes by
I can't believe.
so fast. And today, just discussing about this performance review coming upon us and the things that we need to be aware of, we need more time. But anyway, we are here. Can you give us some 3 takeaways we can go away thinking about, and how we can, make them part of our life? Jane Kuvuna has just joined us. Karibu sana, Jane. Go ahead, Leah.
3 takeaways. Number 1, robust. Every organization has to have robust policies on training and development.
Yes.
Number 2, well executed. They should be well executed policies. So you're not only coming up with the policies, but you execute them well. Number 2, embrace the culture of training and development in an organization, what will be referred to as a learning organization. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Leah. So there you have it, guys. You have it from our HR practitioner who has taken her afternoon and time to come and talk to us about training and development. And I'm very sure that when we look at those 3 takeaways, she's saying loudly, embrace training and development. There's a difference. Ensure that you have got clear policies and procedures and that you have the intention of executing them. So Leah, you have helped us to understand and to respond to the questions of the day. We started off by saying performance review season is upon us. And what development strategies did you have in place? I'm sure the audience now can kind of form around that. If there were none, they're able to work on. 2022 is around the corner. This is the time we start preparing for the next year, improving on what we are doing, and where there is, it did not exist, is now putting in new measures. Did you implement them? Perhaps there was a challenge in implementing them because nobody shared with us here any success stories. So I want to believe there were some challenges. I'll just check this for a minute here. Just checking that. Sorry, just give me a minute. Just give me a minute right there. I know we are coming to the end of our hour. I just want to ensure that we are on the right track. Okay. Yes. Leah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Fantastic. So did you implement them? Are you able to monitor and measure the effectiveness? Leah talked about KPIs. Do you have KPIs, or do you have some kind of other metrics that you would measure by? Is it the return on investment? Is this the client coming back and saying this particular staff has improved on their services? Is it the staff themselves coming back and saying that the PIP, the performance improvement plan, has really helped me? Thank you so much, Madam Leah, for walking me through this. Whatever it is, guys, let us aspire to be that organization that trains and develops our employees. Let us be that organization that does that. Thank you so much, Leah. October is upon us, and it is our collaboration month. It is here, and therefore good things are going to be happening here at LMC Consultancy. Last year, we introduced this collaboration aspect. So now we are going to have a few guests on the session, and we have lined up discussions around the question, are you in control? We're going to be looking at the theory of the locus of control. You don't want to miss this series of October. It promises to be an exciting month. In the meantime, guys, remember to like our Facebook page to receive regular updates and scheduled talks, what we're going to be doing, our trainings. Visit our website, lmcconsultancy.com, for our blog posts, which are just gaining traction, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, LMC Consultancy. Just hit that notification button for prompts on new videos. We will be uploading this video by the end of this evening. However, let us build each other. And until then, guys, let us be kind to ourselves. Have a very good afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye.